The Underground Railway that I'm on, speeding beneath London at, 95 kilometres an hour, is the envy of the world. It is, of course, the Elizabeth Line. I could lob some superlatives at you. Britain's busiest line, Britain's busiest stations, London's fastest underground line, maybe even London's favourite underground railway. Bold claim, I know, I know. But each time I'm here, thinking back to it as the enormous Crossrail project, remember that we used to call it? I managed to get down here before the opening day. And my goodness, I know I'm not one for holding back when it comes to railway architecture, but it blew my mind. The central London stations feel like giant, sleeping, intergalactic spaceships that engineers have burrowed into, far beneath our feet. And as you arrive from ticket hall or train, you realise that the tunnels are wider, platforms are longer, and there's more innovation here than you might first think. I mean, more than half the underground space down here is hidden from public eyes, so what lies beyond those walls? It's all the high-tech stuff that keeps this stuff running. Something like 75,000 people have worked on this whole thing, this massive machine beneath the earth, some of which involves threading steel rails like needles through the incredible existing infrastructure of subterranean London that was already here. It's almost a miracle, it's definitely a marvel, and if you knew just how complex this spectacular engineering triumph beneath our feet really is, perhaps you'd realise, just like maybe I have, actually, it's a little bit magic. Look, it hasn't come easy, and like any new thing, there's learning on the go, let's be honest. But I do challenge you to find anyone who doesn't love the Elizabeth Line, from its aircon and walk-through carriages to the speed. I can feel it under my feet right now, and convenience. Oh gosh, of course, it goes without saying, it's friendly staff and crew wherever you encounter them. Right to me, time for your first stop, mate. Today it's all about innovation and the amazing ideas that have unfolded over 25 years of all of TfL. So, let's get on with it. Welcome to Mind the Gap.
The Gap.
Okay, off the train, through the glass sliding doors, up the escalator from the spotlit platforms. Here we are at Paddington, one of 10 new stations. And though I'm 2 stories beneath the ground still, I can still see daylight above. In fact, I should probably note here is the spot just over there where Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II stood when she opened the Elizabeth Line back in 2022. There's a plaque on that wall over there commemorating that day. Now, work on this whole project started back in, 2009 with huge sort of Thunderbirds-like tunnel boring machines and years of planning and construction above and below ground to make this reality. The results, well, frankly, it's a gleaming jewel in the TfL crown. Journey times are shorter, accessibility is better as well, with all 41 stations having step-free access, and the station architecture speaks for itself. Yeah, I mean, look, there's cunning bits like smoothed off corners to reduce crowd friction, or those little perforations you might see in the walkway walls, designed to stop echoes. 3 years after opening, I still watch new travellers arrive around me now. Look at them, they're awestruck and they're inspired. Public transport should make its users feel special. And this thing is clever, designed by thoughtful people. There have been well over 500 million journeys on this railway since it opened. The Elizabeth Line is now firmly on the map. Quite literally, actually, in that lovely purple. Right, okay, I've just beeped out, and that beep, it's become one of those London sounds, hasn't it? It means that your card, or phone, or watch has made contact, and registered your journey, and now you're good to go. We take it for granted now with that sound, but it's all within the lifetime of TfL that this Oyster and contactless revolution has happened and become part of our daily lives. Maybe you're like me and can remember the days of paper tickets. Now I do feel old. Queuing for tickets and frantically searching for your ticket as you approach the barriers, but now it's so easy, so smooth. But this leads me to my very first guest. His name is Shashi Verma, and he's the Chief Technology Officer, or CTO, at Transport for London. He's surely the most qualified person in London to talk to me about Oyster and contactless. So, let's go meet him in a TfL office where he works. Now, Shashi, I want to get into some of the amazing innovations you've been part of at TfL. But first of all, what exactly is it for you that has made and does make TfL an exciting and interesting place to work, where you spent so much of your career?
So I walked in the doors for the first time in TfL about 23 years ago, and I had a very open field, which is one of the reasons why I've stayed in TfL all this while. I came in with a very open remit to come in and do pretty much anything I wanted. So I started off building a corporate finance team. In the process of working on major projects, I ended up working on Crossrail, so that became kind of my thing for many years. But from 2006 onwards, my life has been really around payments and technology and the sort of whole customer-facing end of TfL.
The Oyster card came in 2003. You became director of Oyster Card a few years later, but you've been part of this incredible contactless revolution. We take this for granted, I think. We tap in, tap out. It becomes part of our everyday. But it was a massive change, wasn't it? And TfL was helping lead the charge in many ways with Oyster and contactless.
As much as I would like to, I can't take ownership for the idea of Oyster. It predates me by a long time. And it partly shows the innovative nature of the organization that we've had, where people have not been shy of confronting difficult problems as they've come along. So the idea for something like an Oyster card dates back to about 1990. That's how far back it goes. The simple idea was to find a mechanism to open and close the gates faster, because we had put gates at all the central London stations, and the gates had themselves become a bit of a choke point, with the old style paper magnetic stripe tickets taking longer than we would like. So it started off with a very simple idea that we needed something to open and close the gates faster. That's how the first smart card trials happened in London in 1991, 92, 93, successive trials, which provided us with an opportunity to learn how to make these things work. It then took a long time to get the funding and to get the projects together and all that. In the meantime, Hong Kong had introduced the Octopus card, building upon the work that we had done. But when you compare the Oyster card that launched to the staff in 2002 and to the public in 2003 with any other smart card in the world, this is a more sophisticated, more elegant solution than anything that was built before or even since.
You said it launched in 2003, but there was a staff trial beforehand.
Yes, one of the features of Oyster and pretty much every payment technology that we've done is that it's been test again, make sure that everything's working, so that the day it launches to the public, you don't have any chances of the stories around IT fiascos and all that. So it's always been a very successful launch that we've done. In fact, if you go back and look at contactless, it's been in use for over a decade now. You can't find a negative story on contactless anywhere. And that's only because everything from the design process to the testing process to the launch and the operations, it's all been thought through very carefully to provide customers with the experience they need. There's a lot of very complicated and difficult activity that goes on in the background. And in fact, I say this without any sense of hubris, that the payment systems that we run today are probably the most complicated, not just payment system, but any system of any kind that any public transport organization runs in the world.
Why is it so complex? What makes London so difficult to weave together?
Well, for one thing, the network is very complicated. So we have a tube network, we have a rail network, they interweave with each other. We have a bus network and a tram network. We have a tram network that looks like a bus network, but is actually, at least at Wimbledon, there's a tram station sitting inside a rail station. So there's a lot of network complexity, right, which is irreducible. And that is the source of a lot of complexity in the fare collection system itself. On top of which is layered, the complicated objectives around what we're trying to do for customers. Multiple fare types, there are concessions of all varieties. Some people get free travel, some people get half-price travel. There's a pay-as-you-go system for those who want to pay that way. There are season tickets. So there is a lot of complexity that is there by design. And if you compare this with most cities in the world, don't have a rail network. You have a bus network, it's a flat fare. And that's no different from going into any other retail environment where, you go to a coffee shop and coffee costs £2.50, you touch your card and £2.50 gets taken off your card. That simplicity cannot exist in London, no matter what we do, because of the conditions under which we operate. And suddenly we started getting access to all this information through the fact that every tap you make on the Oyster card is registered. So we know the impact of what happens when there's a football match at Chelsea or there's a road closure, any of these things. It's much easier now to be able to answer these questions. And rather than just say that these things are immaterial, we have taken advantage of this kind of granularity of information. Oyster was a huge success, but contactless in some respects has been an equally big, if not bigger, revolution to the transport system because it's finally liberated people from the need to buy a ticket at all.
So Oyster is the little card you used to buy as a separate thing and charge it up, but contactless is this proliferated, always on, whoever you are, wherever you're from, you can use it. That's something quite different.
The idea that any bank card, credit card, debit cards, they might be a card, they might be on your phone, the fact that they can be used directly to pay for travel without the need to buy a ticket, that is what we call contactless. That's basically the open loop revolution that started in London. It's our invention, really, given to the banking industry to make a global product. It's quite a big thing because if you think of it, for 150 years, people had been forced to buy tickets. You could not travel on any transport system around the world without buying a ticket. And the idea that you can travel without the need to buy a ticket and pay for travel in the same way that you would pay for anything else is something that sounds very obvious in hindsight. It was a complete revolution. And the impact it's had on people is, the whole routine of Monday morning queues to buy your season ticket and all that, that's all gone. Queues used to snake out of the stations into the streets, that's all gone. Think about our stations. Many of them are Victorian. They don't have much space. They're congested environments. The idea that there were a lot of people there just to buy tickets rather than travel was a hindrance in our core purpose of providing a good travel experience. All of that is gone. You can't find a queue anywhere in London, any station, anytime. You can't find a queue anymore. It sounds like a small thing, but you don't queue up in front of your car every morning before it'll start up. You had to do that on public transport. That's gone now. And that is a true revolution, a true innovation. In fact, I would argue this is probably the biggest innovation that the world of public transport has seen for decades. The point here is that we've designed a system that does the right thing all the time. We do not mischarge people ever. Right? And the money comes out automatically from your bank account every first thing in the morning. If you're using a phone, you get an alert on your phone to say the money's been taken out.
Every night, yeah.
And it is literally like magic. Yeah. In the words of Arthur C. Clarke, every advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this is one of those where something happens in the background that is almost outside human comprehension, and yet it works. And it works reliably, which is why the trust is there. We provide automated refunds for customers on the basis that sometimes people make a mistake, sometimes services are delayed. Whatever it is, we should not put customers through the agony of having to call and ask for a refund when we inside the organization know that something's gone wrong and people are due a refund. And that's part of the reason why customers have the trust that they have in us. And we also use the data to provide better information to customers. So if you sign up for service alerts from us, you're not getting an alert on everything across the network. You get an alert on things that are relevant to you because we know the kind of journeys that you make. So, we've never sold the data. We protect the data very hard. The privacy aspect of this is central to everything that we do. But while putting out very tough fences, very high fences around the protection of that data, we're taking advantage of the data to fulfill the core purpose of providing a better customer service.
One very brief question then. What still drives you at TfL after all these years, and TfL's 25 years old, what still motivates you and drives you and excites you about TfL?
Well, TfL is a very purpose-driven organization, which is not unique to TfL, but is definitely unusual. And that purpose is something that I've seen flowering in the last 25 years. As I said earlier, there was a lot happening in the predecessors of TfL before, which we cannot discount. But the revolution that London has seen with the invention of TfL 25 years ago is something that the whole world talks about because there is something to talk about. And that mission and purpose is still the thing that is at the heart of everything we do.
Thank you so much to Shashi for that. And he's one of those people who has a brain that just, it leaves me in awe every time I talk to him. So much to think about, and he's always 10 steps ahead on every bit of the detail and the data. Really impressive stuff. Now, let's talk about things on four wheels, specifically buses, because I blooming love buses. Not sure I said this before, but I do adore them. There's no other vehicle that's probably as synonymous with the city as the red double-decker buses with London. So I'm going to hop on the number 63, actually, which was the very first fully electric double-decker bus route in London back in 2019. I always say, if you really want to see London, just hop on a bus. And we're actually putting a link in the show notes, if you go online now for this episode, about some of the best TfL bus routes to hop onto if you'd like to be a tourist for the day and see the sights of our city. So it strikes me that a lot of people might think there's just one type of London bus, or not really notice all the little details and improvements and changes that have happened to buses over all these years. But actually, there are loads of them. I mean, absolutely, dozens. And one of the big things is bus safety, actually, and that's a huge thing for TfL. They're coming out from loads of different directions, because buses are actually the safest way to travel on London's roads. And the Mayor's transport strategy sets out the goal for something called Vision Zero for London. And what that says is that by 2041, all deaths and serious injuries will be eliminated from London's transport network. That's really bold. And buses have gone even further than that. The team has a target that no one is to be killed in or by a London bus by 2030. How are they going to achieve that? Well, there's exciting tech stuff like advanced emergency braking, and there's intelligent speed assistance systems, and even design improvements as well, like enhancing the front end of the buses to protect us all, and pedestrians and cyclists too. And there are operational things being looked at too, like engaging with community groups and groups representing customers who actually do use the buses around the city, and implementing, of course, the bus safety standards, which are the requirement for all new buses in the fleet. I mean, this is really leading edge stuff, actually, for the global bus industry. And the second thing I think we should really probably mention here as well is that a bit different. I'll give you a clue what it is, because it's buses going around and around in a big circle around London, not a roundabout. And it rhymes with looper soup. Basically, London is huge, and TfL isn't just thinking about the central bit, because linking communities and making travel easier and more efficient and predictable further out has always been just as important back in the last century, just as it is now. And buses are such an important thing for communities right across London. And sometimes you don't want to go through the middle of the city to get to another part of outer London. You want to go around in a loop. Yep, I'm talking about the Superloop. It's such a simple idea. And you know what? Sometimes those simple ideas are the best innovations, really. Basically, it's an orbital bus network around the whole city. There's 10 express bus routes, all in operation now, and the first one came online back in 2023. In fact, look. So I'm looking at the map on my phone now, gloriously colourful and simple in that classic TfL way. And so now, for just £1.75, you can now travel direct from, say, West Croydon to Heathrow Airport, or Uxbridge to White City, and that's the same price as any other bus journey. And that's brilliant. I guess that's sort of in the same way as looking at the tube map helps you to have a picture of the middle of London in your head. This Superloop helps you to have a picture of all those places and communities you've got all around the edges. So, when we talk about innovations on buses, it's often the little things that matter too, isn't it, really? And we've got new maquette on here. If you didn't know, maquette, oh, this is a lovely one, this one. Maquette is the word for this wonderful fabric seat covering we have on TfL services all over London. And a side note, that word literally means carpet in French. But look what else we've got on this marvellous bus. Look, up here, look above. This is like a double-decker open-top bus. There's a massive, almost like a great big sunroof on top. Basically, big panes of glass up and down the middle, so you can see up and out, all around. It is so light on board up here. And look, this bus has even got its own USB charging sockets. I mean, this is actually better than some brand new mainline trains. Okay, I'm off the bus now, but just a quick word on something I'll go into a bit more detail on in the next episode. Because London buses, frankly, have been transformed in so many other ways as well in the last 25 years. Because, of course, we've now got electric and hydrogen fuel cell buses, and the entire fleet meets or exceeds the ultra-low emission zone, or ULEZ, as everyone probably knows it now. And look, the older buses have been retrofitted as well, with cleaner engines too. I mean, this has been a massive programme that you might not really notice, but it's been a quiet green revolution for the London bus. And the other day, I was up at Crystal Palace, and I saw a bus with this incredible charging machine that comes down and zaps it with high power and recharges it whilst it's actually at the bus stop. That is clever and brilliant, and even the bus driver looked chuffed when I looked at him and gave him a thumbs up.
Please mind the gap.
So I'm just on my way now to the next interview. And how have I planned my journey? Well, of course, I've done it with an app on my phone, because that's what we all do now, right? TfL's app is called TfL Go, and that is a spectacular innovation too, using TfL data. Now, I'm not sure if you've used it, and I hate to sound like an advert, but it is the TfL podcast, and I am using the TfL app, and it really is very, very good, and it shows you the quickest routes on all modes, and shows disruptions and real-time info and live arrival times on everything from buses to tubes to trams to DLR. It also suggests walking and cycling routes as well, and it even shows you where the toilets are located, helpfully. And best of all, it's getting me to this interview ahead of time. Innovation isn't just about tech and big new pieces of hardware though. I'm here at the wonderful Tottenham Court Road station. It's always busy here, but it didn't used to be so busy overnight, of course. I mean, I remember this when I first moved to London. I lived in Soho, round the corner. That is until a major new TfL innovation happened in 2016. And that innovation was, of course, the night tube, with that cheeky little owl logo. I'm sure it's got a name. The night tube now runs on Friday and Saturday nights on the Central, Jubilee, Northern, Piccadilly and Victoria lines. But I'm here to meet the incredible and pioneering DJ who goes by the name of Jaguar, who's agreed to meet me here in the station in a nice little quiet side room that the lovely Tottenham Court Road station staff have let us use. I want to talk to her about the nightlife of London, her work, and what it's like on the night tube.
Tottenham Court Road. Change around for the Elizabeth and
Hi Jaguar, thank you so much for joining us here in this little, it's very hidden away, should we say, little room deep beneath the main station, isn't it? Now look, the reason I want to talk to you is because you are a world-acknowledged expert now on Radio 1, dance, and you're doing stuff in emerging music, and I suppose you are an expert, I guess, I'd call you an expert, on the nightlife of London.
Wow.
I mean, you go out.
I do go out.
You know, you do things like co-host International Music Summit in Ibiza. Your passion really is championing new artists and artists from diverse backgrounds, isn't it? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, thank you. As your expert, no, I'm very honoured. I've been broadcasting on Radio 1 with my show Introducing Dance, which is all about supporting emerging artists, literally artists making music in their bedrooms. The bit I love about all parts of my job is just sharing. So like on the radio, I'm sharing tracks I love, but also like I love sharing knowledge, and I love helping new artists, and I love being able to connect them. Like I always go above and beyond to help someone in the scene, and I do that with my record label Utopia. I do that when I'm curating my club nights. Like I love supporting and championing people. And then in terms of artists that are like underrepresented, yeah, I'm very passionate about supporting just like people to give them a leg up, because it's kind of very important to me because of my own identities that I want to support people who don't feel seen.
You're not from London originally, obviously, but you live in East London now. Would you define yourself as a Londoner now?
I would. You know, I'm very proud of being from the Channel Islands and Alderney, to be clear. But I'm very proud to be, I consider myself a Londoner, yeah, like as an adult and like discovering myself and getting properly embedded into my career here and embedded in DJing here. Like, yeah, I've grown up with it.
I want to take you back, if you wouldn't mind, just to go back even further to before 2016. We didn't have the night tube.
No.
When I first came to London. And then I moved out of town a bit longer, so I used to have to stop and kind of go, right, okay, we didn't have the big parties. If it was the night bus, I mean, they work for some people, but if you live a long way out, it's not really going to work, right? But I mean, can you remember what it was like getting home after a night out or a gig? Because I remember I found out, check the clock and stuff before the gates shut at the tube. Oh God, it was so stressful. I mean, can you remember that time before when you first came to town?
Yeah, definitely. Certainly before the night tube, it was a lot. Like you really had to like plan a bit, if you did get carried away and you're like leaving a club at like 5 a.m. and head to the bus stop and just sort of hope for the best. Do you know what I mean? And also like we didn't have Uber back then, and like cabs, especially I was younger, I didn't have any money for cabs, so like it wasn't an option to get a taxi. Yeah, I remember being in London. I was with my partner and it was at the end of a night out. I mean, the only option was to get the bus. We missed the tube. And then it was literally like the only people on the bus, because we were going from like Brixton to Finsbury Park, I think. And yeah, and two girls, and she was like, okay, don't fall asleep. I was like, I promise you, I'm going to stay awake the whole time. Got you, I'm going to make sure we get home. Both fall asleep. And it's like, honestly, we're like 5 stops, like we completely missed our stop. It's like reached the bus station and the driver's like, all right, everyone off.
It now feels normal, right, that you can finish your night and just almost hop on, hop off, go back whenever you need to. I mean, but how has it changed perhaps the things that you've done, or maybe your audiences and the nights you do? Do you think it's probably helped people a little bit and changed the kind of the makeup of people who come to the parties?
Yeah, I mean, it can only be a good thing, really, I think. You know, especially if there's other layers to it. Like you could be going to a queer party and dressed up in drag or something, or, you know, I think this is why queer spaces are so essential, right? Because they're a place where people can go who might not feel safe in the rest of society, or they, you know, might feel like, oh, I can like wear this because I'll be with my people and we all get it. But I think traveling to and from gigs, the tube at night is like a real blessing, and because it feels, I think, really safe. Now I've gone to other countries now, especially the States, like it makes me really appreciate the tube. I actually do feel really safe on the tube.
You see these little adverts, the tube, it used to be like a beacon, a symbol, right? Like, it's, oh, that's it. And it's like you see it at night out or in the morning and you're like, I need to get to that symbol. Yeah. That means home, that's safety, right?
I think it's a game changer. I think also younger people, like at the moment things are really expensive. And there is a trend where a lot of younger people aren't going out as much because it's like, it's so expensive to buy drinks or get into a club. And so I think having the night tube is like really good for encouraging them to go out.
But also want to talk about the staff, I guess, as well. Because, you know, when you're running a club night, you're a member of staff, you're part of the crew, but you've got supporting teams who have to get to and from it. And I guess they've got to get to their places across town. I mean, and you know, we can't all afford to live in the middle of London anymore.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly helpful. Yeah, when you're working in like the nightlife industry, your hours are like, well, you're nocturnal on the weekends, you know. And I think, you know, from being the artist liaison to the booker or being the DJ who's playing, or it is a game changer. I think just walking out the door, knowing you know how you're going to get home. It's not going to be stressful. You're not going to be waiting outside in the cold and the dark, especially if you're a girl. And like it is, I think, a real game changer. And we're very lucky to have it.
People talk about safety and so on, but do you think there's a little community perhaps as well? Like on the night buses. I mean, I remember like, we're all in this together. We're going to make it home. But also in the night tube as well, right? It feels quite close, quite nice.
Yeah, I think so. I had a funny one recently. I think there were these girls, they were having the best time, and they were singing, I think, High School Musical songs. Like, we're all in this together. It was like 4 a.m. and they were just going for it. But we all love it. We were all joining in and clapping, and like, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I actually would pay money for that. I feel like I should have slipped her a $5 because it was a great performance.
I mean, that's the next thing. TfL doing live performances on late night, early morning tube trains. I mean, there's a new revenue opportunity there. I'm just saying, guys. But I was looking forward as well. You've got so much of your career. You've achieved so much. What excites you about the future of being involved in nightlife of London and elsewhere? What excites you about that?
Loads. So this September I'm celebrating 5 years of Utopia, which is my club night. And I've started releasing music for the first time this year. And I just want to keep like connecting with everyone. And I feel like we are so spoiled living in London. Like, there are other cities I love, but even so, like, London is just the best. Like, I just feel like we've got the best balance of everything. And we are so spoiled with different cultures, different sounds. Like, the music scene I just think is unmatched. I feel so lucky to be living here presently and like to have had so much of my story built in, I think, the greatest city in the world. I'm gonna say it.
A big thank you, Jaguar, for that chat and those insights into London at night. But what's next? What's coming down the line, I hear you ask? What do you know? What's on the horizon for TfL innovation? Well, the answer is a lot. But for now, I'll give you two quite juicy and exciting answers. And they're both new trains. Because, of course, the Piccadilly and the DLR are getting brand new state-of-the-art rolling stock. Okay, I have been on both of these new trains, under construction and in test. I'm happy to report that you can believe the hype, guys. They are a genuine leap into the future. I can't wait to have them in service. Now, a couple of quick points about the Piccadilly line train first. Let's get my trusty bits of crumpled paper. Here we go. Out of my pocket then. Right. So the existing trains on the Piccadilly line have been serving London since 1975, which may shock you, is even older than me. Yeah, I know, right? The new trains look like something out of the movie Tron, if you look at the front of them. I love those little lines of lights at the front. And I mean that in a good way. I'm not sure if it's actually cool to use the word cool anymore. Definitely not wicked, but they most definitely are cool. I mean, look up a picture if you haven't seen them before. They've got walk-through carriages, wider all-double doorways, dedicated wheelchair spaces, digital screens, improved step-free access, and on-train CCTV too. And look, the thing that's made quite a lot of headlines: air conditioning. Yes, I can hear you cheering when you heard that. It's the first time aircon has been properly brought in on a deep level tube train. It's incredible to think how the team have figured out to make all that work, but honestly, it's so clever how they've done it. The tech and all the thought that's gone through it boggles my mind. How they've hidden all the aircon in the walls of the tube train, between the seats and the outside, underneath and around. It's just so clever, honestly. The services will become faster and more frequent, and they'll be able to carry, of course, quite a lot more passengers than ever before. Right, let's talk DLR trains now. This is 54 brand new trains that are coming in. These are really impressive, gleaming, futuristic units, but still with that DLR charm we all love, of course. These new trains have really spacious walk-through carriages, aircon, live travel info, better accessibility features, and mobile device charging points too. They're super smart and look great too, which, frankly, that always does help a little bit, doesn't it?
This is an Elizabeth line service to Reading.
As you can hear, I'm down on the Elizabeth line just for this last bit, because it's really hot upstairs outside today, and actually the aircon on these trains is lovely on a day like today. But I'll come clean with you, I'm running out of time for this episode. In fact, I'm way over time already, and my producer keeps making that winded up motion at me. Thanks, Adrian. Look, the thing is though, we've genuinely barely scratched the surface when it comes to all the innovative ideas that TfL has brought in the last 25 years. Basically, we could do entire episodes on things like the TfL Property Company, Places for London, which you might not even know they exist. Or we could talk about the baby on board badge that TfL brought in back in 2006, or the priority seating that came in 2008, with different colour maquettes you see at the end of the carriages. And that's such a simple idea, but it's changed and enabled so many people's journeys. Or the Northern Line extension in 2021, and those new stations at Nine Elms and Battersea Power Station, and all that art on the underground stuff that's come with it. Or there's the Four Lines modernisation project. I can't believe I haven't mentioned that already today. It's transforming the Metropolitan, Circle, Hammersmith and City and District lines, using some incredible tech back-end innovation to modernise and upgrade those lines that you won't even see as a passenger. And how about the licensing and partnership deals that TfL strikes with pretty much everything from board games to whiskey and swimming trunks to handbags, and recently I've just seen lunchboxes. I mean, the PlayStation takeover at Oxford Circus I think is my highlight so far. I mean, the direct vision standard that measures direct views that heavy goods vehicle drivers have out their cab window as part of that huge world-leading drive to improve safety for the rest of us. I'll tell you what, I've got a list here of things I want to talk about, and I could try and not be earnest, but there's no point, because these are all such great things, because there's things like the Silvertown Tunnel too, the work that was done on that, deep under the Thames on either side. There's the Overground, of course. How can we not mention that today? Innovations galore. I mean, that was 2007 when TfL brought that new train set for London in, and they took a bunch of underused suburban railway lines and turned it into a proper high-frequency service network. And there are any number of trials that are happening literally as I speak, which could turn into amazing customer improvements on safety, reliability, and all sorts in the future, using AI and data, all sorts of stuff that we never really get to see, but my goodness, there are teams of people beavering away in the background. Oh, there's so much, but I do hope I've given you just at least a little flavour of what's been going on over the last 25 years, and, thrillingly, what is coming next. And immediately next, in the next episode, I'm on my way to City Hall for a big interview. So I'm off home now first to go and iron a shirt for that, and I'll definitely wear some of my best maquette socks, of course. But which of those to choose? So many. In fact, the London Transport Museum shop for that brand new range just out recently. There's another innovation. Who'd have thought of that 25 years ago? Maquette socks. Please do join me for that. Not the sock choice, for the episode. And in the meantime, please don't forget to mind the gap.